She left me for a tycoon, but I exposed her dirty game in upstate New York. I caught her whispering his name in the dark. Not mine. That was the moment I stopped being her husband. If this story moves you, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe to Viora for more unforgettable stories that speak to the heart. My name's Micah Reeves, 47 years old. I run a small landscaping business in upstate New York. Nothing flashy, just me, a crew of 4, and a beat-up Ford F-150 that's seen better days. I live in a cabin I built myself, surrounded by pines and a creek that murmurs all night. It's simple. It's mine. And for a while, it was enough. 10 years ago, I thought I had it all. A wife who lit up rooms. Ava. She was 32 when we married, with eyes like summer storms and a laugh that could pull you out of any darkness. We met at a farmer's market. She was buying heirloom tomatoes. I was selling cedar planters. She teased me about my dirt-stained hands. I teased her about her overpriced kale. By the end of the day, I had her number. 6 months later, we were engaged. Our first years were good. Real good. We'd cook together, her barefoot in the kitchen, me grilling steaks on the deck. We'd drive to the Adirondacks, camp under stars, make love in a tent with the rain tapping above. I wasn't rich, but I did all right. My business cleared enough to keep us comfortable, nice house, decent cars, vacations to Maine or the Carolinas. Ava said she didn't need more. I believed her. Then things changed. Slow at first. She started scrolling real estate listings, mansions we couldn't afford. She'd show me photos of infinity pools, marble counters, places that screamed money. Imagine us here. Micah, she'd say, her voice sharp with want. I'd laugh. Tell her our split level was plenty. She'd roll her eyes. You're so content, she'd mutter, like it was a curse. She wanted more. More trips. More designer bags. More of everything I wasn't. I tried to keep up, picked up extra jobs, stretched the budget, but it was never enough. She'd come home with $500 shoes, saying, they're an investment. I'd nod, swallow the knot in my throat. I loved her. I thought love could fix it. By year 5, she was slipping away. Late nights at her marketing job. New friends I didn't know. She'd talk about networking with people who had yachts, penthouses, lives I couldn't touch. I'd ask her to stay home, just one weekend. She'd sigh. Micah, I need ambition. You're happy with this. Her hand would wave at our life, our home, our dog. Me like it was nothing. One night, I found her phone buzzing on the counter. A text. Miss you already? From a number I didn't know. My stomach dropped. I didn't check it. Didn't want to, but the seed was planted. Doubt. It grows fast. A month later, she sat me down. Her face was cold, like she'd rehearsed it. I'm leaving. Micah, I need more. You're small town. I'm not. She filed for divorce the next day. Said I lacked vision. Said I was holding her back. I didn't fight. What's the point when someone's already gone? She took half the savings. The car. The dog. I let her move to my cabin. Threw myself into work. Planted a garden. Fixed up an old tractor. Found peace in the quiet. The ache dulled, but it never left. Ava was a ghost in every corner of my life. 3 years passed. I was good, not great, but good. My business grew landscaping for local businesses. A few wealthy clients. I kept it low-key. No social media. No flash. Just honest work. My crew respected me. My clients trusted me. I'd grill burgers with my neighbor, Ed. On Sundays, life was steady. Then the invitation came. Cream cardstock. Gold script. Ava was getting married. To Todd Benson, some hotshot real estate guy. The wedding was at a vineyard in the Finger Lakes fancy. Exclusive. I stared at the envelope. My name in her handwriting. Why invite me? To gloat. To twist the knife. I almost tossed it. But something curiosity maybe made me keep it. I drove to the vineyard that Saturday. Wore my best flannel and jeans. No suit. No pretense. The place was a circus of wealth limos, chandeliers, waiters with caviar. I stuck out like a sore thumb. Didn't care. I wasn't there to impress. I just wanted to see her. To close the book, Ava was radiant. 39 now, but still a knockout. Her dress probably cost more than my truck. She floated through the crowd. Arm on Todd's. He was 48. Tall, polished, with a Rolex and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. They looked like a magazine cover. Perfect. Untouchable. I stayed in the back, nursing a beer. A few guests glanced my way, whispering. I caught Fragment's ex-husband. Lives in the woods. Poor guy. I ignored them. Then Ava saw me. Her smile froze, then sharpened. She walked over, Todd trailing behind. Micah, she said, voice syrupy. You actually came in that. Her eyes flicked over my flannel, her laugh a blade. Still living the simple life. Huh. What's it now, chickens? A garden. The crowd around us chuckled. My jaw tightened. But I kept cool. Yeah, Ava. Chickens. Garden. Keeps me honest. She leaned closer. Voice low but loud enough for her audience. Honest? Or just stuck? I mean, look at you. Driving that rusty truck. Digging dirt for a living. I needed more. Micah. Todd gets that. She touched Todd's arm. Her ring glinting. Todd shifted. His face unreadable. I met his eyes. Something flickered there, not smugness. Discomfort. I didn't respond to Ava. Just nodded. Took a sip of my beer. Congrats, Ava. You got what you wanted. Her smile faltered, like she'd expected me to beg or snap. She turned to the crowd, louder now. Micah's a real throwback. Loves his little farm life. Right, honey. She laughed again, but it was forced. The guests laughed too, but it was thinner. Todd didn't. I could have hit back. Could have mentioned the late-night texts. The lies. The way she gutted me. But I didn't. Not my style. I just stood there, let her dig her own grave. Then Todd spoke. Ava, that's enough. His voice was low. Firm. The crowd hushed. Ava blinked, caught off guard. What? She said, her laugh nervous. Todd looked at me. Then her. You don't talk to a man like that. Not in front of me. He turned to the guests. Micah's got more integrity in his work boots than most of you have in your bank accounts. He built something real. That's rare. The air shifted. Ava's face flushed, her mouth opening, then closing. The guests stared, some nodding, some squirming. I didn't move. Didn't need to. Todd had just turned her stage into mine. But it wasn't over. Not yet. Ava recovered fast, grabbing Todd's arm. Babe, come on. It's our day. She tugged him toward the dance floor, shooting me a glare that could have burned holes. I stayed put, watching them go. My beer was warm now, but I didn't care. Something was off. Todd's words weren't just a defense. They were a warning. I wandered to the bar, ordered a whiskey. The bartender, a guy in his 20s, leaned in. You're the ex. Right. Heard her ripping into you. Rough. I shrugged. She's always been loud. He smirked, wiping a glass. Yeah, well, loud doesn't mean happy. Saw her earlier, arguing with the groom in the back. Something about a prenup. She wasn't thrilled. I raised an eyebrow. Prenup. He nodded. Yeah. Benson's loaded. But he's not dumb. Word is, he's got her on a tight leash. No access to his accounts unless she signs. She was pissed. I sipped my whiskey, the burn steadying me. Ava, chasing money again. Same story. Different guy. But Todd's speech nagged at me. Why defend me? Why risk his own wedding to call her out? I didn't trust it. An hour later, the toasts started. Ava's dad, Greg, went first. Standard stuff, proud father, happy daughter. Then Todd's brother, Nate, took the mic. He was tipsy, slurring a bit. To Todd and Ava, he said, raising his glass. And to second chances. Right. Todd's been through hell, but he's back. Just don't check his phone. Ava. He laughed, but it landed wrong. The room went quiet. Ava's smile froze. Todd's jaw clenched. I leaned against the wall, watching. Nate's joke wasn't a joke. It was a grenade. Whispers spread, guests glancing at Todd. At Ava. At me. I caught a woman nearby muttering, didn't Todd have that scandal a few years back? Something with his business. My gut twisted. I didn't know Todd. Didn't wanna. But I knew Ava. She didn't pick men for love. She picked them for leverage. And Todd. He wasn't the golden boy, she thought. The band struck up, pulling attention back to the dance floor. Ava and Todd swayed. Her smile plastered. His eyes distant. I finished my whiskey. Set the glass down. Time to go. I'd seen enough. But as I headed for the exit, someone grabbed my arm. Nate. Todd's brother. His tie was loose. His breath sour with bourbon. You're Micah. Right. The ex. I nodded. Wary. Yeah. He glanced around. Voice low. Look, man, I shouldn't say this. But you dodged a bullet. Ava's trouble. And Todd. He's not what he seems. Ask him about his last deal. The one that tanked his firm. I pulled my arm free. Not my circus. Man, Nate smirked. Unsteady. Maybe. But you're the only one here who's real. Todd respects that. Why do you think he stuck up for you? I didn't answer. Just walked out. The night air cool against my skin. My truck was parked a half-mile away. The gravel crunching under my boots. Nate's words stuck with me. Todd's speech. The prenup. Ava's glare. It was a puzzle. And I didn't like puzzles. I drove home. The highway stretching dark and empty. My cabin was quiet when I got there. Just the hum of crickets and the glow of a single lamp. I cracked a beer. Sat on the porch. Thought about Ava. About Todd. About the life I'd left behind. Then my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. Micah, it's Todd. We need to talk. Tomorrow. Noon. Rusty nail bar. I stared at the screen. My pulse ticking up. Todd Benson. texting me. The man who'd just married my ex-wife, who'd called her out in front of a room full of people, who, according to his own brother, was hiding something. I didn't reply. Not yet. But I knew one thing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The rusty nail bar smelled of stale beer and oak. Dim lights hung over scuffed tables, and a jukebox played Springsteen in the corner. I walked in at noon sharp, my boots heavy on the hardwood. Todd Benson was already there, sitting at a booth in the back. No suit today, just a gray Henley and jeans, but the Rolex still gleamed on his wrist. He looked out of place, like a city guy slumming it. His eyes flicked up as I approached, and he nodded. No smile. I slid into the booth across from him. "You've got 5 minutes," I said, voice low. "What's this about?" Todd leaned forward, elbows on the table. "I'm not here to waste your time, Micah. I need your help." His tone was steady, but there was an edge to it, like a man holding a losing hand. I raised an eyebrow, leaning back. "Help? You're the one with the penthouse and the bride. I'm just the guy with the chickens." He didn't laugh. "You're the only one I can trust. Ava's not who she says she is." My gut tightened, but I kept my face neutral. "You married her yesterday. Bit late for buyer's remorse." Todd's jaw twitched. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and slid it across the table. A photo. Ava, laughing at a rooftop bar, her arm around a guy I didn't recognize. He was older, maybe 60, with slicked back hair and a suit that screamed Wall Street. The timestamp was 2 weeks ago. "She told me it was a client," Todd said, his voice flat. "Said she was closing a deal. But I had her followed. That's Victor Crane, runs a hedge fund. Shady as hell. They weren't talking business." I pushed the phone back. "Sounds like your problem." "Not mine. It's not just an affair." Todd's eyes locked on mine. "She's playing me, and I think she played you too." I froze. The air in the bar suddenly too thick. Played me. Ava had gutted me. Sure. But it was her greed. Her need for more. Not some calculated game. Or was it? I thought of the late-night texts. The way she'd turned cold overnight. Doubt crept in. Sharp and unwelcome. "Keep talking," I said. Todd leaned closer, voice barely above a whisper. "Ava's been digging into my finances, asking about my accounts, my deals. I caught her on my laptop last week, poking through my emails. She's not just after money, Micah. She's after control, and I think she's working with Crane to get it." I let that sink in. Ava, scheming with some hedge fund creep. It tracked. She'd always chase the next big score. But this felt bigger, darker. "What's Crane got on you?" I asked. Todd hesitated, then sighed. "My firm took a hit 2 years ago. Bad deal. Lost a lot of clients' money. Crane bailed me out. But it came with strings. He's got dirt documents, recordings. If they leak, I'm done." "Ava knows. She's using it." I studied him. Todd wasn't begging. He was calculating, like a man weighing his odds. "Why tell me?" "You don't know me. I know enough," he said. "You're straight." "You don't play games. And you know Ava better than anyone. If I'm right, she's coming for both of us." I laughed, short and bitter. "Both of us. I've got nothing left for her to take." Todd's eyes darkened. "You sure about that?" He reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope, and slid it over. I opened it. A single sheet of paper, a legal notice. My landscaping business was being audited. Tax discrepancies, it said. Penalties could shut me down. My heart slammed against my ribs. I'd always been clean. Paid every dime. This wasn't random. "Ava's behind it," Todd said. "She's got connections at the county office. Filed a tip, anonymous. Wants to bury you." I crumpled the paper in my fist. My blood hot. "Ava. Coming for my life again." "For what?" "Spite. Revenge." I looked at Todd, his face grim but steady. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Help me stop her," he said. "I've got a plan, but I need someone she trusts. Someone she'll let her guard down with." "That's you." I stared at him. The jukebox now playing some old Tom Petty tune. Trust Ava. She'd sooner spit in my face. But Todd was right about one thing. I knew her. Knew how she moved. How she lied. If she was playing this deep. I wasn't just collateral damage. I was a target. "I'm not your guy," I said, standing. "Find someone else." Todd didn't flinch. "If you walk away, she wins. You lose your business, your cabin, everything. And I'm not the only one she's screwing over." I paused, hand on the booth. "What's that supposed to mean?" He stood, matching my height. "Meet me tonight. My office in Syracuse. I'll show you proof. 9 o'clock. Don't make me beg." I didn't answer. Just walked out, the door creaking behind me. The sun was too bright outside. The air too warm. My truck roared to life, and I drove. No destination, just needing motion. Ava. Scheming. Todd. Desperate. My business. Under fire. It was a storm, and I was caught in the eye. By dusk, I was back at my cabin, the legal notice burning a hole in my pocket. I called Ed, my neighbor. He was a retired CPA, sharp as a tack. "Can you look at something for me?" I asked, handing him the paper. Ed scanned it, frowning. "This is bullshit." "Micah, your books are clean. I've seen them. Someone's pushing this through, and they've got pull. You piss anyone off lately?" I didn't answer, just thanked him and headed inside. Ava's face flashed in my mind, her smirk at the wedding, her laugh as she tore me down. I'd let her go once, thinking it was over, but she wasn't done. Not by a long shot. At 8, I made a choice. Grabbed my keys, drove to Syracuse. Todd's office was in a glass building downtown, all sleek lines and security cameras. He buzzed me in, no small talk. His desk was cluttered files, coffee cups, a laptop glowing blue. He looked tired, older than yesterday. "Glad you came," he said, shutting the door. "Sit." "I didn't." "Show me." He opened a drawer, pulled out a flash drive, and plugged it into his laptop. A video loaded, grainy, but clear enough. Ava, in a hotel lobby, handing an envelope to Victor Crane. He slipped it into his jacket, leaned in, whispered something. She laughed, touched his arm. "The timestamp? 3 months ago." "There's more," Todd said, clicking to a recording. Ava's voice, sharp and clipped. "On a phone call. He's got no idea. Vic, once I'm in." We split the accounts. Todd's done, and Mike is out of the picture. My fists clenched. Out of the picture. She wasn't just after my business. This was personal. "How'd you get this?" I asked. "Crane's not the only one with tricks," Todd said. "I hired a guy. Ex-cop. He's good, but Ava's better. She's covering her tracks. That's why I need you." I paced, the room too small. "What's your plan?" Todd leaned back, eyes narrowing. "We set her up, get her to admit it on record. You reach out, act like you're hurting. She'll bite. She loves winning. We catch her, and Crane's leverage goes with her." I stopped pacing. "You're asking me to play her, after everything." "I'm asking you to save yourself," he said. "And maybe me?" I didn't trust him. Not fully. Todd had his own game, his own secrets. But Ava, she was a wildfire, and I was done getting burned. "What's in it for you?" I asked. He smirked, bitter. "Freedom. I'm tired of her games, and I owe you." That speech at the wedding wasn't just for show. "I respect you," Micah always did. That hit me. Respect. From a guy like Todd. I didn't buy it, but I didn't call him out. Not yet. "I'll think about it," I said. "Send me the files." He nodded, ejecting the flash drive. "You've got 24 hours. After that, I go solo. And you're on your own." I took the drive, left without a word. The city lights blurred as I drove home, my mind racing. Ava, plotting with Crane. Todd, playing savior or puppet master. And me, stuck in the middle. My life on the line. The next morning, I woke to a knock. Ed, holding a folder. "Did some digging?" he said, stepping inside. "That audit. Traced the tip to a shell company. Guess who's linked? Victor Crane." I stared at him, the pieces clicking. Crane wasn't just Ava's side piece. He was her partner. And Todd. Either he was playing me, or he was in deeper than he admitted. I thanked Ed, sent him off, and opened my laptop. Plugged in the flash drive. Watched the video again. Ava's laugh. Crane's smirk. My blood boiled. Then my phone rang. Ava. Her name on the screen was a punch to the gut. I let it ring twice, then answered. Voice cold. "What do you want?" "Micah." She purred. "Like we were old friends. Heard about your little audit. Rough break. Thought you might need a friend." I gripped the phone, my knuckles white. She was baiting me, testing me. "I'm fine. Ava, always am." She laughed, sharp. "Sure you are. Look, I'm in town tomorrow. Lunch, for old time's sake." My pulse spiked. This was it. The opening Todd wanted. The chance to play her game. But something else hit me, a memory. Our last fight. Her eyes empty, her voice cutting. "You'll never be enough." Micah. She'd meant it. And now she was coming for blood. "Name the place." I said, my voice steady. "Luigi's. 1 o'clock. Don't be late." She hung up. I sat there, Ishionar. I stared at the phone, my mind spinning. Lunch with Ava. A trap. Or an opportunity. I didn't trust her. Didn't trust Todd. Didn't trust Crane. But I was done running. This was my life, my fight. And if Ava wanted a war, I'd give her one. The next day, I walked into Luigi's, a cozy Italian spot with red checkered tablecloths and the smell of garlic. Ava was already there, in a black dress that hugged her like a second skin. She smiled as I sat, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You look rugged," she said, sipping her wine, still playing farmer. I ignored the jab, ordered a coffee. "Why am I here?" "Ava." She leaned forward, Her voice low. I heard about your audit. Nasty business. But I could help. Pull some strings. Make it go away. I raised an eyebrow, playing along. Why would you do that? Her smile tightened. Because I'm not a monster, Micah. We had something once. I don't want to see you lose everything. Bullshit. She was fishing, testing my desperation. I leaned back, crossing my arms. I don't need your charity, but I'm curious. What's in it for you? Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. Maybe I miss you, she said, her voice softer. Maybe I made a mistake. I laughed, short and cold. You don't miss me. You miss winning. Her face hardened, but she recovered fast, reaching for my hand. I pulled back. Micah, come on. We could start over. You, me. Like before. I stared at her, my heart pounding. This was it. The play. She was dangling the past, thinking I was weak enough to bite. I could have called her out, exposed her right there, but I didn't. Not yet. I needed proof. Something solid to bury her in Crane. Like before, I said, leaning in, my voice low. You mean before you lied? Before you ran off with Todd? Or before you started playing games with Victor Crane? Her face went pale, her wine glass trembling in her hand. What are you talking about? I smirked, standing. You're good, Ava, but not that good. Enjoy your lunch. I walked out, my heart racing. I'd rattled her, planted the seed. She'd slip, and I'd be ready. But as I stepped onto the sidewalk, my phone buzzed. Another text from Todd. She's moving fast. Crane's meeting her tonight. My place. Be there. I stopped, the city noise fading. Tonight, Ava and Crane. Together. This was the break, the chance to end it. But something gnawed at me. Todd's urgency. His proof. His respect. It didn't add up. Was he setting me up? Or was he just as trapped as me? I drove home, the flash drive burning in my pocket. Watched the video again. Then the audio. Ava's voice. Plotting. Micah's out of the picture. My hands shook. I wasn't out. Not yet. That night, I parked a block from Todd's condo. A sleek high-rise with a doorman who didn't blink as I walked past. Todd buzzed me up. His place was all glass and leather. The kind of spot Ava dreamed of. He was pacing when I walked in, a glass of scotch in his hand. She's with Crane now, he said. No preamble. My guy's tailing them. They're at a warehouse. North End. I've got a recorder. We go in, catch them, and it's over. I crossed my arms, studying him. Why not call the cops? Todd laughed, bitter. Cops won't touch Crane. He's got half the city in his pocket. This is our shot. Micah. You in? I didn't trust him, but I trusted Ava less. Let's move, I said. We drove in his BMW, the city lights streaking past. The warehouse was a hulking shadow, rusted and quiet. Todd's guy, a wiry ex-cop named Ray, met us in the lot. They're inside, he whispered. Back office. Talking numbers. Big ones. I nodded, slipping the recorder into my pocket. Todd handed me a flashlight. Stay sharp, he said. Crane's got security. We crept inside, the air thick with dust and oil. Voices echoed from the back Ava's, sharp and demanding, and a deeper one. Crane's. I edged closer. The recorder on my heart pounded, every creak of the floor a gunshot. Todd's done, Ava was saying. He's signing tomorrow. The accounts are ours. And Micah's audit. It's airtight. He's finished. Crane chuckled, low and cold. You're a piece of work. Ava, but I like it. Once we clean this up, we're golden. Europe, maybe. New names. I froze, the recorder catching every word. Proof. Solid. Undeniable. But then a new voice cut through. Familiar and wrong. Todd's. You sure about that? Vic, he said. Stepping into the room, I spun, my blood cold. Todd. With them, not with me. Ava gasped. Crane cursed, and I realized the truth. Todd wasn't trapped. He was playing both sides. The speech, the proof. The plan, it was all a setup. To lure me here, to tie up loose ends. I backed away, but it was too late. Crane's security, two guys with guns, stepped from the shadows. Going somewhere, one growled. I raised my hands, the recorder still in my pocket. My mind raced. Todd's betrayal, Ava's scheme, Crane's empire. I was outmaneuvered, outnumbered, but I wasn't out. Not yet. The warehouse air was thick, the kind that sticks to your skin. Two guns pointed at my chest, their barrels glinting under a flickering bulb. Ava's eyes were wide, her breath short. Crane smirked, leaning against a crate, while Todd stood between them, his face unreadable. My hands were up, the recorder heavy in my pocket. I'd walked into a trap, and the door was slamming shut. Micah, Todd said, his voice calm, like we were back at the bar. You should have stayed home. I kept my eyes on him, ignoring the guns. And missed the show. Nah, I'm here for the finale. Ava laughed, sharp and nervous. You're pathetic. Micah, always were, thinking you could outsmart me. She stepped closer, her heels clicking on the concrete. You're nothing, a nobody with a shovel and a sad little life. I didn't flinch. Her words were old news, same as her wedding speech. But Crane's smirk faltered, and Todd's jaw tightened. Something was off. The room felt like a powder keg, and I was holding a match. Crane spoke, his voice smooth, like he was closing a deal. Enough chatter. Reeves, hand over the recorder, or we make this messy. I lowered one hand slowly, reaching for my pocket. The guards tensed, but I kept it steady. You want it, I said, pulling out the flash drive instead, holding it up. This one, or the one I left with my neighbor. Crane's eyes narrowed. Ava froze. Todd's head tilted. Just a fraction. I was bluffing. Ed had nothing but the audit papers, but they didn't know that. Doubt was my only card, and I played it hard. You're lying, Ava snapped, but her voice cracked. She looked at Crane. Then Todd. He's lying. Right. Todd didn't answer. He was watching me, calculating. Crane stepped forward, his patience thinning. Give it up, Reeves. Now. I tossed the flash drive to the floor. It skidded, stopping near Ava's feet. Take it, I said. But you're kidding yourself if you think it's the only copy. Crane nodded at one of the guards, who grabbed the drive. Ava's face was pale, her hands shaking. She was unraveling, and I saw my opening. You're slipping, Ava, I said, voice low. Thought you were the queen of this game, but you're just a pawn. Crane's using you. And Todd, he's playing you both. Todd's eyes flashed, but he didn't move. Crane chuckled, but it was forced. Cute story, Reeves. But you're out of moves, am I? I said, stepping forward, the gun still on me. Then why's Todd so quiet? Why's he letting you call the shots? Vic, you think he's your lapdog? Ava spun on Todd, her voice shrill. What's he talking about? Todd, you said this was handled. Todd's face was stone, but his eyes darted to Crane. The air shifted, heavy with mistrust. I kept pushing. Ask him about the offshore account. Ava, the one he didn't tell you about? The one he's moving tonight. It was a shot in the dark, pieced from Todd's urgency. His betrayal, the whispers about his firm, but it hit. Ava's mouth dropped, and Crane's smirk vanished. Todd stepped toward me, fists clenched. Shut up, Micah. Or what? I said, holding his gaze. You'll sell me out again, like you sold her. The guard nearest me hesitated, his gun dipping. Ava screamed. Todd, what's he talking about? What account? Crane grabbed her arm, yanking her back. Shut up, both of you. But it was too late. The room was fracturing, their alliance crumbling. I saw my chance. I lunged, tackling the closest guard. His gun clattered to the floor as we hit the concrete. Pain shot through my shoulder. But I swung, my fist connecting with his jaw. The second guard turned, but Todd out of nowhere slammed into him, sending him crashing into a stack of crates. Chaos erupted. Ava screamed, scrambling for the door. Crane pulled a pistol, aiming at me, but Todd shouted, Vicky, don't. Crane hesitated, just long enough for me to roll behind a crate. The real recorder still in my pocket. Gunshots rang out, bullets biting into metal. I crouched, heart pounding, scanning for an exit. Todd was grappling with the second guard, his face bloodied but fierce. Ava was gone, her heels echoing in the distance. Crane was cursing, his pistol sweeping the shadows. I crawled toward a side door, the recorder digging into my hip. If I could get out, get it to Ed, this was over. But then Crane's voice cut through. Reeves, you run. I burn your life to the ground. Your business, your cabin, gone. I froze, my back against a crate. He wasn't bluffing. I'd seen the audit, the strings he could pull, but I wasn't the same man Ava left. I wasn't small town anymore. I was done bending. I stood, stepping into the open, hands up. You want me, Vic? Come get me. Crane smirked, raising his gun, but before he could fire, Todd tackled him, the shot going wide. They hit the floor. Grappling, Crane's pistol skidding away. I didn't wait. I ran, bursting through the side door into the night. The air was cold. The lot empty except for Todd's BMW. I sprinted to my truck, parked 2 blocks away, and peeled out, the recorder burning in my pocket. My phone buzzed Ava. Again, I ignored it, driving straight to Ed's. He was up, sipping coffee on his porch. Jesus, Micah. You look like hell, he said, eyeing my torn jacket. I handed him the recorder. Get this to your buddy at the DA's office. Tonight, don't ask questions. Ed nodded. No hesitation. You got it. I drove home, the adrenaline fading, replaced by a cold clarity. Ava was running. Crane was cornered, And Todd, hell. I didn't know what Todd was, ally or traitor. He'd saved my ass back there. But why? The next morning, my phone lit up with news alerts. Crane's hedge fund was under investigation, fraud, money laundering. The works. The recorder had done its job. Ava was named as a person of interest. Last seen boarding a flight to Miami. Todd's firm was mentioned. But he was in the clear. For now, I sat on my porch, a beer in hand. The creek murmuring below. My business was safe. The audit dropped. I'd won. But it didn't feel like victory. Ava's betrayal. Todd's double game, they'd left scars deeper than I'd admit. Then my phone buzzed. A voicemail from Todd. Micah, it's done. Crane's finished. Ava's gone. You were right about the account. I moved it. Had to. But you're clean. Stay that way. I deleted it, staring at the horizon. Todd wasn't my friend. He'd played me, used me, but he'd also cut me loose. Why? Guilt. Respect. I'd never know. A week later, Ed stopped by, grinning. DA's building a case. Ava's in deep. Might flip on Crane to save herself. You're a damn hero. Micah. I shrugged, tossing a stick for my dog. Just wanted my life back. He laughed, clapping my shoulder. You got it. And then some. I didn't tell him about the envelope that arrived that morning. No return address. Just a single photo inside. Me, at the warehouse, running for the door, on the back, in Todd's handwriting. You're welcome. I burned it. The flames curling the edges to ash. Some debts don't need repaying. Some stories don't need endings. I'd survived Ava. Crane. Todd. That was enough. Or was it? Did I let Todd off too easy? Should I have chased Ava? Made her face me? Or was walking away the only win that mattered? Like what you heard. Hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe to Viora. Because the next story might just be your favorite one yet.